This is a totally improvisational live stream brought to you by no other than Reckless Logic, his damn self, who forced me to watch all this damn political shit, and now we ready to talk a damn about it. Okay, so thumbs up the video as you're coming in. Bully that like button. Y'all know how we do. Y'all know what it do. And share the stream out and all of that. I'm trying to determine if we want to do this panel style, because I don't know what my energy is. I'm kind of tired. It's a lot of shit going on politically, and everybody kind of getting on my last nerve as it relates to all this political presidential shit. So I really have to follow my mood out. But y'all thumbs up as y'all are coming in. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and get started, child. Y'all already know what to do. Thumbing up the video not only helps with YouTube's algorithm, but more importantly, it triggers up YouTube's notification system. So when you are thumbing up the video, you are literally knocking on the digital door of another Conscious crew member and telling them to get their RSS into the damn sanctuary. Also, shout out to all the new subbies. Make sure that you guys have your notification bell set to all. And last but not least, please share the stream out to whatever it is you have digital community, whether that be your YouTube community wall, your Instagram, your Snapchat, your Facebook, the dark side of Twitter, Tumblr, or your personal OF. I don't really give a damn where you lay the link. Just let them whores know that we're loud, we're live, and we're certainly in color. And with no further ado, let's go ahead and push on through.
I know a place where you can recharge your soul.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
And in the midst of brokenness, he gon' see your asshole.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
You gon' heal, you gon' laugh and catch a little shade.
Ooh, girl.
Y'all know he be slaying, y'all better stop playing. Come hear what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, of course, we are back just like that. Welcome to the platform. What's going on, Reckless Logic?
Hey, y'all. What's going on? How y'all doing?
Long time no see.
I've been in the bushes. I was over there working. I've been in the bushes trying to keep up with what's going on. But dirt.
Well, working on your shit. Yes, you kind of done sponsored this live stream tonight.
Mm-hmm.
As I was telling people in the intro, you the one who done forced me to kind of catch up on what the hell been going on out here in the political landscape, because P. Diddy and the feds and the government and indictments and trafficking and occultism them had us in a chokehold over here.
Yeah.
So we were able to get into some things and catch up on what's going on. Apparently, Donald Trump, according to some polls, is a smidget bit in the lead. They both have kind of been kind of passing each other incrementally. Kamala gets a little head, he get a little head, she get a little head, he get a little head, she get a little head. So literally, this pussy is tighter than mine. This race is tighter than my pussy. Girl, this race is tighter than my cooler cat, girl. So it is a lot happening on top of this race getting crazy. Kamala has sat down and did various interviews. I think she talked to Charlemagne the God, who was practically useless as an interviewer. She also sat down with 60 Minutes, which was an interesting interview, and she sat down over on Fox and spoke to Brat Bear, who literally had his goddamn facelift on her neck, girl. Like, that was a very interesting interview. A tad bit unprofessional on Brett's part, but I like the tonality and I like the challenging nature of the interview, because I feel like all politicians need to have a hot seat like that. That was literally a hot seat. And that needs to be done across the board with all these people in power. And it actually should be mandated. It actually should be legalized. They need to make it a mandate that all politicians, girl, have to be grilled and drilled the way that Kamala Harris was in that damn interview. Then we had to get into also black men being in a damn chokehold, particularly black men. And I don't know whether these niggas who are in their feelings identify as ADOS FDA, whether they Jamaican, whether they biracial, whether they Afro-Latino, and I really don't give a damn, but they black asses are in a damn chokehold as a result of Barack Obama's most recent speech, where he gave a lecture and decided to have a private backdoor meeting with young male voters about voting for Kamala and addressing what could be unconscious misogyny. Okay, we're going to talk about it because I didn't translate the clip that got black men in a chokehold the way that some black men are responding to Barack Obama and his talking points. We're also going to graze over this new Kamala Harris black male agenda that she done rolled out, girl, okay, to help these niggas to get into a new double wide trailer, to help them get, their first Toyota Hyundai, to get their first damn 2004 station wagon under their belt, baby. Okay? Doing something specifically for their asses. So we're going to talk all about it, girl. Are you ready for this? Reckless logic?
Yes, mate.
Where do you think we should start at? We need to start from the lightest and then
oh my gosh,
to the more explosive.
We'll start with the lightest.
So what's the lightest? What do you consider the lightest?
I'm gonna consider the lightest as in, I guess, what about Kamala Harris's interviews? I think that's be light. I think, in my personal opinion, that's what I believe.
Okay. So, Miss Kamala Harris, wait, no, I think we need to start with Barack Obama, actually, because because she goes into a whole lot, her subject goes into a whole lot of other subjects. So yes, let's start actually with Barack Obama, child. So Barack Obama got niggas in a chokehold. We're going to fair use the first post YouTube page and let you guys hear what Barack Obama said at one of his most recent lectures and what he said specifically to black male voters. And we're going to talk about it and give our commentary about it. All right. So this is covered, of course, by Fair Damn Use. Let me see the Fair Use banner grill. Where is she? For parody, research, dragging, roasting, gagging, challenging, and intellectual purposes. Of course, all things are fair in Miss Fair Use. All right, let's share here.
Who seem to think Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength. And I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. Real strength is about working hard and carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That is what we should want for our daughters and for our sons. And that is what I want to see in a president of the United States of America.
And that wasn't it. as Barack Obama continued to open a bigger can of worms after addressing the crowds from the podium, he spoke to a group of black men separately.
How are you?
He urged them to embrace women in power and pick Kamala Harris as their next president.
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind. Because my understanding, based on reports I'm getting from campaigns and communities, is that we have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout in all quarters of our neighborhoods and communities as we saw when I was running. And you're coming up.
Okay, so Barack Obama lets it be known that he's noticing that in some sectors and quarters of the country, he's not seeing the same enthusiasm and eagerness that he saw during his campaign run as president, because of course Barack Obama was quote unquote the first man of color president, and this was very historical for a lot of black and brown folk, a lot of people of color, a lot of folk who just never thought such a day would come in a KKK America. So a lot of people based voting on Barack purely based off of identity, purely, didn't give a damn, nothing was going to deter, a rather large chunk of the black community from making history, and it was more about identity at that point than it actually was about policy. And of course, Barack Obama served all 8 terms, both years. Not both years, both terms without scandal, unlike his pale counterparts, without felonies, without indictments, without convictions. His wife didn't have a salacious lesbian past doing pornography. His children weren't also being arrested. Shout out to Joe Biden. The niggas actually had the smoothest sail in terms of White House decorum, if I shall say. All right, so let's continue to listen on to what Barack Obama is about to say, girl, because this is where black men started to expedite their life expectancy, girl. Okay, listen.
All kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, I'm speaking to men directly. Part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that.
But the lecturing didn't stop there. As Barack Obama put on a stern fatherly act, he asked black men to learn from black women, whom the former president claims are against Donald Trump.
Because the women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. And when we get in trouble and the system's not working for us, they're the ones who are out there marching and protesting. And so now you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you? That's not acceptable. That's not it. This shouldn't even be a question.
Undiscovered TV said, when did he become bald? Baby, Barack Obama had to deal with the Proud Boys for 8 years. Bitch, your hairline would be missing too. Believe me. What's going on Undiscovered TV? All right, so let me just go ahead and get this out the way. I definitely did not interpret, you know, his commentary didn't twist me up. His commentary didn't bother me. It didn't undermine me. It didn't turn me into a pretzel. The first part of his statement about women, you know, because me and you had this discussion offline, and to condense it, I felt what Obama said was timely and it was right on point, especially to the crowd he was speaking to, which, as he said, I'm speaking specifically to you, Black men. And what he challenged them and asked them to do was to truly evaluate their vote, especially if they were going to vote not Kamala, to really do the work and to make sure that in your vote and in your attitude toward Ms. Harris, that there is not any unconscious internalized misogyny that is there. And I totally agree with Barack saying that to other men of color and other Black men, because as Black men, we live in a racist, sexist system, and we live under a patriarchy. And while men shouldn't vote for women for the hell of it, or just vote for women simply because it's woman, we also need to make sure that we are not voting for woman because she is in fact woman, especially because we've been socialized and indoctrinated to not think of women as leaders and to not think of women as having the wherewithal and the bandwidth to be authoritarian and to be great at business and to be great at management and to be great at making tough and hard decisions. These are areas that women historically, especially Black women historically, do not get credit for, do not and are not appreciated or honored in. And I think because us as men sit closer to these anti-women ideals as men, we are particularly groomed and conditioned to be sexist, either inadvertently or explicitly, that it's important for us to always check in with ourselves when it comes to our perception of women. That it's important for us to not assume that our choice to not vote for a woman is based upon us simply not finding her qualified, but to make sure we press the gas a little bit more and really evaluate and make sure that in the underbelly of us not choosing a woman to occupy roles that have been historically reserved for men, that is not any misogyny. And I don't think as men we can afford to ever assume that we are free from the socialization and from the indoctrination of sexism and misogyny. So in that first statement, and we're going to get to the second, but after I get Reckless's input. And that first talking point about women, he was on point by challenging men to just make sure that if you're not going to vote for Kamala, that is literally based in you really think the other party has a better policy, a better worldview, that that person has more qualifications. I don't really see how the hell anybody would think that, considering that the other party is not even a goddamn politician and does not have a resume in politics, in governing anything. He doesn't have a resume that could remotely compete or compare to someone who has literally risen in rank and represented various authoritarian positions, whether it was prosecutor, district attorney, now VP, and pending president of the United States. I think that it's responsible of us as men to always make sure that we are free from misogyny when it comes to what we conclude and how we assess women. Because as much as a lot of people would like to believe that Black men are not out here not voting for Kamala based upon her being a woman, that is a damn lie. These niggas have social media, and I have been seeing it, and there are people in the chat who have been seeing niggas literally flippantly say out of their mouth, they're not voting for a woman. So this great myth that misogyny is not playing a role in the microscopic lens that Kamala Harris has been under as a presidential candidate, this hyper supervision and this hyper overwhelming criticism of her particularly, we've never held any other VP remotely under the same critical lens as we have held Kamala. And it's only for one reason, and we know what that reason is, that she sticks out like a sore thumb, and it's because there's an S in front of her he. VPs have been so irrelevant that I almost forgot who the fuck Barack Obama's VP was. I had to remember that it was Joe Biden. Because VPs historically have just never taken up the main character position. I have never seen so much criticism and intentionality and ridicule and mocking and scolding of a VP than I have that of Kamala Harris. I have seen what I felt has been 3 to 4 months of a pep smear done, a full-on biopsy. And we didn't even do this to Hillary Clinton. Matter of fact, more Americans voted for Hillary than they even did Donald. And if it wasn't for that electoral college, Hillary would have became president because she won the popular vote by 3 million more votes than Donald Trump. And that was after she was found guilty of creating illegitimate, unauthorized emails where she stored classified information and communicated with foreign bodies through those unofficial digital pathways. And yet, Kamala Harris, who has yet to be found guilty of anything as VP, who has been co-signed by plenty of respected politicians who helped to open up the channels for her to do the political work she's done over the last 15, 20 years as district attorney, etc., have all not been good enough compared to the criminals that she's ran against. I saw more criticism for Kamala Harris than I did for the convicted felon she's running against and for the white female presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, who Donald Trump said he was going to have arrested and put behind damn bars. You would think that Kamala Harris was both of those people and committed both of those levels of criminality her damn self considered or considering the level of critique, particularly that she's gotten from a black from the black community, who somehow also has managed to be more concerned about what Kamala is going to honor as it relates to the black community than what all politicians ultimately are going to. Because I also don't see the equal foot on Donald Trump's neck about what his specific and passionate contribution is going to be to the black community and to people of color in this country. I see the conversations consistently disproportionate, as if it would be only important for Kamala to uplift and adhere to the needs of the black community rather than any person who's going to occupy that presidential role, regardless of race, regardless of gender, being particularly passionate about said plight. And if the plight is as severe and is as necessary as the black community says it is, as FDA says that it is, as, you know, all facets of our very colorful community is, why is it that Kamala Harris is the only candidate who's being pressured particularly to lean in? Because that platinum plan that Donald Trump promised to the black community never got off the ground. Those stimulus checks that happened were actually a result of the Biden administration. The Trump administration was trying to block those checks, in fact. But black people, regardless of what type of black you consider, what variation of black you consider, what part of the community, what should be actually important to all authoritarian figures, right? Equally to Trump and J.D. Vance as it is to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. you got a nigga. You know what's so funny? I heard one of the most profound statements I've heard so far, baby. And for me, it rests my case.
Yeah.
That comment was, Black men have really become reduced to an all-out joke. Because these niggas are actually thinking they're doing their big one and are eager to go vote for the same man that the KKK and the Proud Boys are voting for. And niggas talking about they learned from Obama. Yeah, to eat once again from Master's actual table.
I was gonna say, okay, so what I was gonna say is that in terms of Donald Trump, there's a reason why the Proud Boys, the KKK, they identify with Trump because like attracts like. There's something about that apparently catches their attention and they're intrigued by. Now, here's the thing though, like, so I did have this conversation before with IG, and he did give me some different perspectives because I was kind of like, I don't know how I feel about this because I saw the outrage online about what Obama said and how things was going, and then I also was looking at different content creators and watching conversations. And the thing is that the reason why for me personally is like, I personally believe that a bit of it has to do with, on some level, has to do with misogyny or misogynoir, whatever you want to go with, sexism, whatever it is, because it's that the same pressure for a lot of people is not put on Donald Trump. It's really not. Like the same pressure and the same line of questioning is not put on Donald Trump. Now, I've also heard people say that they were going to attempt to do third parties. And that's their right, cool, whatever. But we have 2 weeks, I want to say like 19 days, like 2 weeks from election. And for me, I just wonder, because I'm not an expertise in politics. I just wonder how things are going to turn out when we actually do get to the election. That's all I want to say for now.
Yeah, because at this point, voting, it's, if you're not voting for either party, I mean, you literally are just voting in vain, because literally, like, this is the whole point and purpose of actual campaign. Like, these two candidates, only one of these two candidates are making it to the finish line. That's it, and that's all. Your vote comes down to either not voting or voting for either one of these persons. It would be hard for me to say that I'm actually really surprised at Black men, since we're talking about Black men's response, not even the Black communities, not even Black women's, but particularly Black men's response to Barack Obama doing his best to sell what he think is in the best interest of the country. Now, if niggas would rather have a white man who looked Black journalists in the face, who literally inquired about Project 2025's qualified immunity and asked that under the guise of Sonia Massey's homicide, who is a Black woman who called authorities to her home to intervene on what she thought was a burglar or a intruder, and was shot multiple times in her face in cold blood in her kitchen after she rebuked a antagonistic, impatient white cop to his face. And Donald Trump said that he would still give cops qualified immunity. What makes that so polarizing and deathly alarming and concerning is that Donald Trump boldly said two facets of the Black community in a Black space that he does not care, nor does he recognize the brutality, the racism, the anti-Blackness, nor the criminal corruption and the unethical, immoral behavior and conduct of the police task force of this country, and that the way that Black bodies are interacted with and engaged by responding officers is literally not even a thing. Now, since Black men have been the ones largely making up the face of the Black Lives Matter movement, George Floyd, Philando Castile, Trayvon Martin, the list goes on and 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 on. I just want to know, what do they actually expect now with Trump literally endorsing the way that officers treat and engage Black bodies as a result of him seeking, determined, and desiring to give them qualified immunity. Not to mention that those statements were then followed by him wanting to exonerate white convicts while calling for death row and the persecution and extermination of the Central Park Five, which were 5 Black men who were exonerated due to forensic testing. It does not surprise me that Black men fail to read the room, that Black men participate literally in their own downfall, that they even assist in their own extermination and genocide, because I have seen it all out of Black men. And to your point earlier, Reckless, I'm not surprised that more than likely on some unconscious level, there is a relatability that Black men are not even able to realize is there at surface level, because the man who they want to run to vote for is an ex-con, just like a lot of our Black brothers. He is misogynistic. He is abusive unto women. He is apathetic, and he is utterly and completely toxic in his masculinity. He carries the energy of everything that makes up a man cave and that makes up a sports team. He is completely the embodiment of all things that low vibrational Black men aspire to be and internalize and actualize as masculinity. Let's move to the second part of Barack's statement, because I kind of forgot where they were.
They've been raising us and working and having our backs.
Oh, yeah, great. Because what I wanted to say to that, he even said Black men love him because he had a criminal record. You know, Black men, to have somebody gag you in your face, to have somebody literally literally shade you to your face, and you applaud him because you're that deaf tone and realizing that this man is humiliating you and is actually dragging you and is actually reminding you of what him and his clan believes about you, and then for you to participate in those stereotypes and to participate in that black male trope and to participate in this black male caricature that the MAGA clan upholds about black men, and think that you're winning and getting ahead and that you are somehow outsmarting the the Kamala part. Like, it's so cringy, and I'm so embarrassed for black men. I'm so embarrassed for us. I'm so embarrassed. It makes me shrivel up into a ball when I think about the level of goofiness, the level of idiocy, the level of shame, and I don't even have the words. I don't have the words. Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was gonna say this in terms of, because I want to do it while it's on my mind. One of the reasons why Kamala Harris, for me personally, is one of the reasons why she's gonna get my vote personally. That may change, I don't know. But the reason why she's gonna get my vote as of right now is because, for me personally, I don't want a government system that's supposed to have checks and balances of checks and balances to be able to check and balance each other if said other branches make a decision that isn't right or in the best or for the best of the economy, etc., etc., etc. So for me, if we already have a Supreme Court that's heavily Republican or conservative, and we have the Congress who is heavily conservative or Republican, for me personally, I don't feel comfortable with the president who has the veto power also being conservative and or Republican. Because there has to be a filter. Now, one can argue that it depends on what type of Republican or conservative that you have in those chairs or those seats. But there should be a filter to be able to filter out some laws or certain bills that would affect me and someone like me in the things that that for me in my existence. There should be something put in place to where they protect me. And this is my logic as of right now. This is the way I'm looking at it as, is that if, for me personally, me looking at, and I could be just looking at the extremists, but me looking at conservative or Republicans' views on a general stance, the anti-queer, I'm going to say more overtly racist, and Project 2025. How a lot of people talked about Kamala Harris not having a plan, a mission that was already written out and also put up for other people to see. But the gag is that Donald Trump already had his plan. His plan got leaked. And the thing is that we already know what type of environment his term is going to give, because we've already experienced it before. And a lot of the times when people talk about Kamala Harris, now this is just my opinion, is that it seems like it's a whole bunch of I believe, I think, this is what I think, this is what I believe. So that's really how I'm feeling about it in terms of the vote. I personally just don't feel comfortable having all Republican or all conservatives in those chairs. I personally do not, especially when it comes down to, okay, so here's another thing. I did speak to IG about this, and he was mentioning how melanated people need to get over this illusion that, because I brought up what about cops having immunity, and he said that they already have immunity. Melanated people need to get out of this idea that these guys don't already have immunity, when in reality they do. They already have immunity. So it's nothing else you can really be scared of, because we already see how the American government is already moving. But the gag is, for me personally, because I once me and IG had the conversation, I sat back and I thought about it. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I was like, what? I don't know how I feel about this, feel about that, because now I'm gonna take the stance of what Nosy Host has said, also what other people on the panel has said. I'm gonna refer it to my own personal life. And if in Project 2020, whatever, 2025, me being in the military and you trying to snatch away benefits from me, bitch, I ain't do this shit for free. I did not pledge and also go under oath for free. I also didn't put my life on the line for free. And also, me being queer, just because you have different ideas doesn't mean that you get the right to what? Discriminate against me through policies. And so for me personally, me looking at it personally for myself, certain things like that, I just can't really, I really think heavily about. And don't get me wrong, when me and IG did have that conversation, he really did give me some food for thought. And I was thinking about, I was like, I don't know. And he can tell you I was very confused, because, I'm fairly new into politics and all the other things. But I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't. But yeah, I do. But I will say, I really do believe that misogyny or misogynoir, whatever terminology, or sexism is actually playing a part in here, because I've also seen it for myself. I can continue. But also to the immunity part. But also to the immunity part. The thing is that because police officers don't have immunity, there is at least a fighting chance to at least hold these motherfuckers accountable, because of certain policies like body cams and like and also like body cams and shit like that. We're able to hold them. At least there's a fighting chance. So now, if they really do have immunity and there's no fighting chance, whatever we are experiencing at the base of the pyramid is only going to get 20 times worse. So that's the way I'm thinking of it. You can continue.
But that's what niggas want, apparently. And niggas are literally, I mean, like, this is social media. Black men are blatantly saying they're not voting for her because she's a woman. And what's interesting to me about the black male community, and I'm obviously morally talking about the black heterosexual male community with all of their raggedy shit, is it's the like compartmentalized misogyny for me, because niggas are practice tokenism, right? And be raised in single mother households with mothers who they saw struggle, but yet successfully provide a roof and food over them and their siblings' head, struggle and work their ass off to put them and their siblings through college, through school, support them in sports, etc., and saw mom largely do that on their own. But because that misogyny is compartmentalized, they will make an exception to pedestalize their mothers and their sisters. And I ain't talking about just the women who did it through the government, because plenty of Black women did it without government assistance. And you hear those testimonies historically for Black women who take pride in the fact that they did not lean on government assistance. They did it through hard work and labor. So that's also another big stereotype, that Black women are welfare queens, when pale women and pale men make up the biggest consumers of government assistance to begin with. You know, and even, because I'm going to address that too, Black women, whether they use the resources available to them, did it without those resources, and it really, if you ask me, would have been a damn fool to not utilize government assistance, because that's what the fuck is there for. Because if the same community is also going to argue that men need to be in place because of what they economically bring to the fucking table, then how are we going to shame women for leaning on a system that leverage economic availability, that leverage food stamps, housing assistance, rent assistance, etc.? Black men are angry that everybody got up off their ass and did it. Out of the mud, or with assistances to get up out of that mud. But are mad that aspects of the community made it the fuck up and out. And if people think that people care more about whether people got it by way of assistances of any kind, because to be honest, we're all being fucking assisted. Whether your mammy took loans out for you, whether your grandmother raised you when your raggedy ass parents didn't want to, there's nobody who ain't been aided and abetted by somebody, some things, some resource. And the bigger gag about it is, I really don't give a fuck about what straight Black men have to say in a attempt to shame other members of the Black community for getting on their feet and not relying on a bunch of self-loathing. Got intelligent, got intentional, got educated about what their personal will could do for their lives, along with what all the loopholes were within this system to benefit them. Because you know who are also Black and male in this country? Gay men. And guess what? Gay men are also outdoing their Black heterosexual male peers in education and economically. So you don't have no motherfucking excuse. Gay men are under the same patriarchal, racist, pale, capitalistic ass system with a foot on their fucking neck. And yet, with our Blackness, yet with our maleness, still serving up these motherfucking niggas. Because the system damn sure don't acknowledge that nuance between Black males, aka bi orientation. So Black men, just like Obama was talking to you niggas, I'm talking to you niggas. And I'm talking particularly to you motherfucking straight niggas, because y'all the ones out here hooting and hollering about a woman not being able to lead the country, but a woman was able to motherfucking lead your ass and all your siblings to the promised land. Let me tell you how competent melanated women are, whether you consider yourself to be a black woman or just a woman of color, is that younger black women who had their kids were able to pass off the burden and responsibility of their own kids to their 70 and 60-year-old melanated ass mothers who served it up on a platter, because that's the level of competency that has been bodied by melanated women who at any age, under any circumstance, can lead it, mix it, stir it, and bring that shit the fuck home. With or without grandpa, with or without motherfucking community, in their goddamn youthful prime, or even in their golden motherfucking years. Still acting as brick and mortar. To the entirety of the black community, black men and black women included. And yet, you will get your raggedy, frail, mugshot, 3-time convicted, non-GED, 8th grade dropout ass out here. And to add insult to injury, have the unmitigated gall to be sexist. Baby, if it's one thing that a low vibrational motherfucker gonna have, if it ain't, baby, they might not have a pot to piss in, bitch. They ain't got 2 quarters to put into the motherfucking city bus. But if it's anything that a low vibrational motherfucker gonna have, bitch, it's gonna be unmitigated, unapologetic ass audacity, bitch. It's gonna be the audacity of the audacity. You know, luckily for me, I am voting for Kamala Harris because I actually just like her better than I like Trump. And speaking of liking her better than I like Trump, can you play that recording that you played for me earlier? And hopefully it'll come through clear.
Which one? If you can remind me, because I
only
had to
played one. It was the one of the guy speaking about Trump and what the hell he didn't do, but got credit for doing.
Let me see. Can I find it?
And why he doing that? Can y'all thumbs up the video? Because once again, I want to make it clear that it's okay to not vote for Kamala Harris.
Mm-hmm.
The first part of Obama's talking points was about just making sure that your vote is not even on an unconscious level being informed by any type of misogyny, or misogyny interacting with any type of anti-blackness, etc., especially for men. Just like white people need to always make sure that they check in with themselves because of the proximity they have to racist ideology and to racist beliefs and attitudes, to make sure it's okay for you to not hire a black person. It's okay for you to not vote for a black person. But because of your proximity to certain ideologies, because of certain belief systems that have been normalized amongst your culture, and you being more susceptible to certain belief systems, whether they're homophobic in nature, racist in nature, sexist in nature. These are the things that we all need to keep a close eye out on ourselves about, to check ourselves at the door, to make sure that our biases are not influencing our favoritism or influencing our so-called votes or influencing etc. Because our lives and us as humans, we do not exist within a vacuum. We are a byproduct of culture, of community, of various ideologies that we're clinging to and holding together in our anecdotal existences, that have made us all biased, that have trained us all to be prejudiced in one way or another. So for us as men, that would be sexism. For white people, that would be racism. For Americans, that would be xenophobia. For heterosexuals, that would be homophobia and transphobia. Things and ideologies that are more divisive and that are and target particular communities more than other. We have to keep our eye out on those things within ourselves to make sure that they're not showing up in the way that we advocate and who we advocate for. Because we have unconscious behaviors, unconscious triggers. We don't exist within a vacuum.
I'm ready.
Play it.
Okay, now, so after 8 years of spreading misinformation about Kamala Harris's record, she locked up thousands of black men for weed. And we found out it wasn't true. They said it was when she was an attorney general in California. Then we found out attorney generals don't even prosecute weed cases in California. They're like, no. It was when she was a district attorney in San Francisco. So we pulled the record and we found out over the 7 years she was a DA in San Francisco, only 45 people went to prison for weed and they weren't even all black. So it was a complete lie, but it mattered. When we thought it was true, it mattered, right? So if it mattered when we thought that she locked up black men for weed, it has to matter that just this morning, she released an economic plan for black men that includes legalizing weed and making pathways for black men to make money in the cannabis industry. That has to also matter. If you are intellectually consistent, if you actually care about the things that you say you care about, one of those things cannot matter without the other thing actually mattering. And then it was, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump because he gave black men a stimulus check of $1,200, right? And then we checked the records, we found out that actually it was the Democrats in Congress that gave it to black men and that, Donald Trump actually held it up and got in the way. But when you thought it was true, it mattered. Stay right there. When you thought it was true, it was enough to get your vote because Donald Trump was putting on for black men, right? Okay, so if that matters, it has to matter that Vice President Harris just released a plan for black entrepreneurs to get $20,000 and no fault loans to start a business just this morning. That has to also matter. Be consistent, unless it was never really about helping black men in the first place. If so, then just say that. Why are you wasting our time? Just say that. Okay, now.
Does it?
Now, can you translate that and tell us what you took away from that? The point with the speaker making and saying that.
Okay, I have a question. Did it sound clear?
It was clear enough, yeah.
Okay,
but
got you.
I'm getting you to translate to.
Okay, got you. So it's kind of was the same point I had when I was speaking to IG, and it was interesting to me that I've had the opportunity to sit back and watch when the first piece of outrage that I've noticed in terms of the backlash that Kamala Harris was actually receiving was about her record, and she locked up all these black men, and she's just yada 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 yada. I just okay, cool. I don't know too much about her record and stuff, so I just took it for face value. But then as time progressed, then once Conscious started to do more lives, started to actually get into the record, then found out that I'm gonna say roughly 2,000 people got convicted, but only 45 people were actually imprisoned. and all of them were not even black. So people cared about her record when they were putting out information as in she locked up all these black men, and also when saying that she locked up all these black men and it was just this ridiculous number. But then once more context came out, all of a sudden, for me personally, when I noticed, I was like, the goalposts kind of moving. It's kind of moving at this point, because now when she actually has the economic plan to actually right her wrongs, essentially, and help black men actually make money in said industry, now people don't care anymore. Now I did speak with IG, and he did actually say that one of the reasons why people may not care is because depending upon the state, it's already been legalized. So some people don't care. But here's the thing I was going to say in terms of the state and all these things. The things I've noticed, now I could be wrong because I'm just an amateur in politics, but the thing that I've noticed in terms of policies, the government, et cetera, and from at least from this last couple of administrations, is where when you have the different branches within government, what they also like to do, because everybody knows that the main focus a lot of the times is the president, in terms of when you get a lot of people that want to vote, are going to be present, are going to be more attentive in voting. It's typically the president. When it comes down to the governor, that number drops. When it comes down to mayors, the number drops. So what I've noticed what they'll do, they'll start to swap out certain people or swap out certain individuals in campaigns, and they'll lose their seat. But then something that happens, like right now, the government is heavily Republican and conservative. And so, like Roe v. Wade, and like the legalization of marijuana, when you leave certain things up to the states, the gag is that's the same logic and stance that the Union versus the Confederacy had, is because they were fighting over slavery, aka cotton, taxes, all of those things, and they didn't want to give their slaves up. And the issue that is because when you kind of allow one, you're gonna have to kind of allow all, because it opens up that rabbit hole. So certain things should not be left up to the states, because also for something like Roe v. Wade, what that also would target women or people or families that don't always have the means to go out to town, or don't have the means to go out of state to visit a state either right next to them or a couple of states out the way. Now I'm going to give you a story. Another reason why I'm kind of more passionate about this specific story is because that's what happened with my own family member, is where she literally had a situation where she was having a I'm gonna say it, miscarriage, and she didn't know it. And she was at work, and she had like falling out, throwing up and everything, and she had to go get one from a different state, and she was scared of people finding out and what the consequences would have been. And that was a very traumatizing thing for her and stuff like that. And so that's the reason why for me is certain things need to be left up federally, because especially when you start to get into different governments that we can argue that a lot of these almost either all or almost these states are racist. But let's be very clear, we can also let it be known that some states are more obviously racist than others. AKA shout out to Mississippi, shout out to Florida.
And I want to add to that, it's not even also just a matter of racism, but the issue is definitely compounded because of that issue. Is also it just lacks nuance to defederalize abortion and put the power back into states, while knowing that Not all states are progressive. Not all states are forward thinking. That there are states more conservative than others. And then not thinking about how that then will disproportionately impact women. And of course, it all will and always will impact the women at the bottom, which are minority women. Because if a minority woman in a conservative state, in an anti-abortion state, needs a emergency abortion, needs this procedure, needs this medication, needs access to these things, but are not in an economic position to do so, they literally risk losing their lives. And as we saw through the presidential or the DNC, we heard from women who not only who lost their lives, who were severely injured as a result of not having access to that out-of-state assistance, who didn't have the means to travel to another state, didn't have the economic means, they didn't have the transportation. Women who were literally experiencing a miscarriage and couldn't even have an emergency abortion done because the doctors in their states were afraid of losing their licenses and being jailed. And women died. Project 2025 gets even more nuanced about just how criminalized this issue is going to be. They want to literally have access to women's medical records and penalize women who have had abortions in the past.
Which
they
would
want
be
to ban contraceptions. They want to ban these medical procedures. They want to literally lock women up and pour or extract more revenue out of the prison industrial complex, which we know makes up a large chunk of America's economy. Go ahead.
Which would be my family member, where she was following the law. And the law said, go to a different state and get things done. But you want to criminalize women for getting abortions? But what they don't realize, just because you decriminalize abortions, that does not mean that the abortions do not still happen. When you legalize abortions, when you legalize Roe v. Wade, the safety level increases. That is what they realize. And let me also say this, because this is another thing that I just thought was very wild to me personally. If you are trans and or gay and you are voting for Donald himself,
and they're out there, baby.
Girl, what the hell? What, girl? What? This is the same individual, and people like him, because I understand all conservatives are not the same. I'm clear on that. But this is the man, and people like him are the same individual. He's the same individual that literally did a ban on transgenders entering the military. So even if you're trans, you can't even serve your country, which is a choice, is what you want to do. And also another thing that I found very interesting as well is that even when Kamala Harris had her interview, I want to say with Brett Baer, he brought up a clip talking to Kamala Harris and trying to have a yo gotcha moment and was talking about how, so you're supporting transgenders having surgery, and played a clip of her talking about transgenderism and healthcare, etc. That right there screams to me that this America, make America great again, does not involve you. Because if Kamala Harris, who is the opponent of said Donald Trump, who Donald Trump is a conservative and Kamala Harris is a Democrat, if Kamala Harris is helping to accommodate a group of people from Donald Trump's stance on a surface level, attempting to help a group of people that you also, from the surface level, you have no issue with, then why are you attacking this woman for trying to help accommodate and help said groups of people if these groups of people deserve to be in the mission and in the plan as well?
Because
that they're not part of the plan. We are not part of the plan. And the thing that gets me is that
they're making America great again.
And what they also need to understand as well is that once other people's rights start to be put up on the ballot, that is when all of our rights start to be put on the ballot. Everyone's. Like when they reversed Roe v. Wade, transgender community already knows that they were either going to be before or after that. And guess what happens? Once transgender or non-binary, etc., once they get them out the way, who else do you believe is going to be next? My queer brothers and sisters and everything in between. And then once that's out the way, and we already have a historical context for all of this, for my melanated people, overseas or not, who the hell you think is going to be next? Who do you believe is going to be next? Who do you believe is going to be put up under the bus? And that's the reason why in the last live, or sometime back, Conscious had to really let it be known that if you're going to have the emotional intelligence, you're going to have to really stay focused on said system, because the system does not care about some of the shit that we give a F about. Oh, I don't like that that F word, or I don't like that bulldagger. So the police did that to them. I don't care. But the thing is, it doesn't matter if the person was queer or not, because to your point, there's also heterosexual melanated people that are also being attacked as well. So that's not a factor that disqualifies people from being attacked and being executed. And to think that this is also the same person that wants to fully give cops full immunity, I think that's the thing. And yes, I understand what IG was saying, talking about some in all actuality, these cops, a lot of them already have immunity, But the gag is, and I'm gonna say it like this as well too. I've also seen it in my own workspace that I will not fully disclose, is that behind closed doors as well.
That's not even a logical, That's not even a logical statement. That's like saying because there's already freelance racism, just go ahead and legalize racism. Because there's freelance active transphobia and homophobia, let's go ahead and legalize it.
Because
if there's already freelance sexism, just go ahead and legalize it. That's
because the way I'm thinking of it, if that's the case, then what's the point of us voting? What's the point? There's no point of us even going out there if that's the point. If we just gonna allow it to happen and it is what it is, then what's the point? Then us going to march, us even advocating, us even having these discussions, us even I'm gonna direct it, people who actually put in the work, you're doing it for nothing then.
These niggas would rather have a president who's going to allow police to assassinate them without penalty than to have a woman of color running the country who's not FDA. Yikes.
And
Alexa, they're not just wanting women to keep babies from rape. They're wanting minor females to also keep their ancestral babies. They want your high schoolers who all attend public schools to pass a military entrance exam before graduating so that they could be subjected to a draft of your president's making. Whether that's putting their asses on these streets to police this civil upheaval that's going to come about as a result of the open and blatant classism and racism that's going to be perpetuated once again by Donald Trump, or whether it's shipping their ass overseas to participate in some imaginary war on terror, when they're really sacrificing your babies to fucking Babylonian deities and gods in the name of war. I mean, the way that Project 2024 and the way they have outlined their vision and their protocol for the next Republican president is literally something out of a Purge movie. And speaking of Purge, Donald Trump said that he would be interested in a day of violence and an actual day of purge. Baby, y'all gonna make it. Go, baby. Let me just say it right here. Let me say it.
I was gonna say send. I sent you the link. IG, come up here because I don't want to take what you said out of context because we had a long conversation. So I try to.
Let me say this
the best
right
I could.
Here. If Kamala Harris does not win, baby, I hope that when Donald Trump gets into office, that he turns this motherfucker out for all you niggas who wanted his ass. Baby, I hope he commits every bit of fiber, force, and fortitude and bandwidth to making this motherfucker as great again, baby. I hope that the 4 years he runs, bitch, is so hardcore and it's with a damn vengeance that it will leave a historical trauma induced in your motherfucking ass so that you know better next time, bitch, than to think that somebody has to go out of their way to convince you to make the better choice and to make the better decision, baby. Because I know that Trump is going to give it up and give it all the way up. He got a point to prove. He has your mission statement, baby. He got the white power to not give a fuck. And baby, he ready to bring on the goddamn terror and the drama of it all. So, it's going to be quite a show. It's going to be quite a show, baby. I hope that y'all already getting y'all license to carry and y'all training y'all black children like that of a damn military force, because they're going to need that just to be able to turn around in their neighbor's driveway, or God forbid have to knock on their white neighbor's door to use the cell phone in case of an emergency. Because, you know, white people are ready, baby, for us to show up on their doorstep again. They're ready for us to need to turn around and bust a U-turn in their driveway again, so they can have a reason to pop a cap in our motherfucking ass. You know, they ready, baby. They're ready to make America great again, and that starts first and foremost with purging the land. Why you think pale violence was through the fucking roof, and all black people's head was on a goddamn swivel. Black children, black women, black men, baby. Oh, we had it going on, baby. I'm never going to forget the Trump administration because it was the closest thing that I've seen in modern times to a Jim Crow era. It brought that shit into 3D form. I hated living
There you go.
on this landmass when Trump was a president.
Gare.
And a lot of Black people have made this presidency just about policy. And it's not just about policy, it's about what Trump also represented to MAGA, and what MAGA then justified in the name of thinking that it had a Ku Klux Klansman as a world leader. And the way that white people got real audacious, got real loud, got real emboldened, and the fact that we were literally watching Black kids and Black women and Black children dropping like flies, and watching white men and white women get off for crimes they committed in broad daylight against Black people. We covered it on this platform. Oh, yes, we did. I still personally feel traumatized by the Trump administration, because white people were already lit as a result of having to suffer through a Black president. So they were already retaliating against Black and brown people. They were already punishing people of color and Black folk for the Black president they had to live through. And then when Trump resurrected, with all of his rhetoric and classism and elitism and all of his foolery and fuckery, baby, oh, baby, they turned this motherfucker into the Wild Wild West. So this is much bigger than policy. It's also much bigger than identity politics. It literally comes down to whether America is going to even be bearable just as a living quarter. I don't even give a fuck about the rest of the politic and shit, because that may not even, those things may not even be a priority. I may not even have the luxury of prioritizing those things once shit get cracking again. And you know, we have no reason to believe that MAGA has changed, because these motherfuckers are still being prosecuted and investigated for scaling the walls of the Capitol building, showing all of America who they still were to this day. What their fear looks like, which is violence. What their anger looks like, which is violence. And their willingness to attempt to overthrow the system itself. So how much more are they going to be willing to dispose of you and I's Black ass? Those pale people put their lives on the line to prove a point to the system. And some of them lost their lives. You know, you can say a lot of things about Black people when we get up, you know, when we get upset about shit, you know, but we at least just burn down our own shit. I'm not interested. I'm not interested. And I really don't know how much more the facts after fact and the truth about Trump's presidency has to speak for itself. I don't know how many more convictions can speak for themselves. I don't know how many more proclamations can speak for themselves. I don't know how much more what we've already lived through and seen for ourselves can speak for itself. I don't know how much more proof. I really don't. And it's bizarre that we are all pretending like we've lived through a Kamala Harris era that we haven't. But absolutely know exactly what the metric and the numbers and the condition of the country looks like through a Trump rulership. We are almost trying to urban legend and boogeyman a hypothetical about a president that we don't even have yet, and almost major in that more in the experience we've already had in mind, body, and soul. Harris hasn't even been president yet. She hasn't had a single day, a week, or a month. And what's also interesting about Kamala Harris is I don't know why people are under this false belief that this is all done up already, as if this woman is not going to be president for 4 years at the very least. So the ideas, the visions, the information that she may not have now is information that she can be afforded. As if there's not going to be 4 years worth of opportunity to get to the table, to introduce this and that too. And this woman consistently takes to the podium and talks about how she's interested in a we. She's interested in bridging both sides. She's interested in doing this as a community. She's interested in working with the people. She's open to hearing and to expounding and to growing and even experimenting in the vision for America. That she's not interested in a dictatorship. She's interested in communication. She's interested in conversation. She's interested in the blueprints. So Barack Obama continue to let these niggas know to check their fucking internalized misogyny at the goddamn door, because niggas are not above it. And continue to remind black men that the majority of their ass wouldn't be here today with a recognizable future if it wasn't for the leadership of those single black women that the manosphere and the red pill community loves to shame, drag, and slander. Because these black men have more accolade to give to their mother than they do any of their damn fathers. It's okay to remind black men of just that. Whether Kamala Harris is a black woman or just a woman of color, because melanin pops. Melanin is melanin, regardless. You got that sauce, bitch, you got that sauce. And sauces. From ragu to the pasta supreme. Continue to remind these niggas. Because niggas are definitely dealing with a barrage of misinformation and slander about just how much the Black women and the women of color in their lives have contributed to their future and to their right now. I love that Barack Obama, as a man, held other men accountable, because I feel like that's the way it should be. Women should be chin checking women at the door, and men should be chin checking men at the door. I love that he didn't hold back. I love that he recognized misogyny. I love that he, as a man, entered into a man's space and advocated on behalf of women. I love that he advocated on behalf of making sure that men are clear of sexism and are actually making informed decisions, even if they're going to vote for a man, but not voting for that man because he is a man, but voting for that man because they genuinely are prioritizing the things they should as it relates to candidacy and not based upon gender. I love that. And more men need to do that, because that's what accountability is. That's what advocacy is. Us speaking on behalf of people who don't have access to the room and spaces that we do. Something that queer people need heterosexual people to do. Something that Black people need white people to do. Something that Black men need white men to do. Everybody needs it, and I'm here for it. If these niggas are mad, they're mad because they got internalized woman hating tendencies and attitudes, because there's nothing to be offended by. There is a hypocrisy in Black man psychology about Black women. There is. Facts. I'm a Black man, you a Black man, we exist around Black men and have access to Black men spaces. Black men are compartmentalized in their misogyny. Black men do participate in tokenism, make the exception for their sisters, for their wives, for their daughters, and for their mothers, while still holding a collective anti-woman attitude toward the general community of women. Make it make sense.
Well, okay, so I want to jump
So
in.
literally hurt other men over what those men do to the women closest to them, but will also participate in traumatizing women who are non-personal to them. Black men are compartmentalized. They are. I grew up watching Black men who had sisters. Let me tell you something. One of my childhood best friends' sister got assaulted on her way home from her homegirl's house by a man who had followed her, pushed her into the bushes, broad daylight, and attempted to essay her. She was able to break free, ran all the way home. Her brother, who was my gay best friend, had another older brother who was heterosexual. My best friend, who's her gay brother, and their older brother, who's heterosexual, came over to the house. The heterosexual brother came over with his homeboy. They scourged the motherfucking city for that man who attempted to assault their sister. They literally were bringing back multiple men in the trunk that they thought might have been him to have her identify the assailant. They were literally snatching niggas up off the streets in the area that she had had this experience in, putting their asses into the trunk, bringing their ass back to the apartment to have her identify so that they can personally execute street justice upon said person. This is how far out these black men were going for the women, for the black women that were personal to them. Mind you, those same men, baby, who are ready to hurt a nigga over what they did to the black woman that was personal to them. Also, were the same men who participated in DV with women less personal to them, who exploited the black women who they thought were promiscuous and pass arounds. How can the same men that protect their sisters and their mamas also not extend that same protection and reverence for other black women in general? And it's because of the issue of tokenism and compartmentalization. So it is wild to see black men who were raised in a system governed by women, funded and sponsored by women, then get out here and have the audacity to reduce women who are not personal to them, such as potential female politicians, potential female presidents, and act like they're incapable of doing what, in fact, their mothers did for them, what their older sisters did for them, what their grandmothers did for them, what their aunts did for them when men chose to be absent. That's very bizarre. It's very upside down. It's strange. And those conversations amongst black men's community need to happen more often about the bipolarism and the compartmentalization of black men's misogyny. It's not being addressed. It's not being spoken about. It's not being unpacked. When I see women trying to obtain leadership roles, it's actually, for me, I don't know about y'all, but it's easier for me to actually genuinely believe in the capacity of leadership in the women because of the women in my own life. Because I come from a matriarchal family. Even a family that has a reasonable amount of men in it. But nonetheless, the women are the ultimate backbone. The women are the ones really supporting the whole community. I actually, when men are actually conspiring toward leadership, I actually need to be convinced. But because of my own anecdotal experience with the power of the feminine and the competency of the feminine, it's actually very easy for me to believe in the competency of female leadership, of feminine leadership, than it is actually for male leadership. And the sad part about it, as I said, is that this truth and this reality is actually the same for so many black men, including the ones who will claim that they don't believe that a woman can lead, that a woman can be in power, that women are too emotional, women are too frail, women are too da 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 da, because they're liars. Since the data apparently proves that so many of our black men have been raised in single mother households and literally also had the direct experience of watching the power of women unfold, the competency of women's leadership prevail in their lives and in their siblings' lives. And then we'll get out here and participate in anti-woman rhetoric. That's some real loony ass shit. You were trying to say something earlier? Reckless.
Yes, because I just had to drop because he was at work and stuff. But yeah, but so in terms of this whole conversation and stuff, I just remember I do remember IG saying in the chat that the issue is that not Donald Trump, or Barack Obama had no reason or had the audacity to say that to black men when it was not so much of, I'm trying to quote him right, so I don't mess up what his statement was, but his policies did nothing or did the least for black men. So it's just the fact that people were trying to make this issue so much about misogyny, when in all actuality, in terms of Obama, the consensus is that people have learned from Obama, because when it came to Obama, people focused on Crayola instead of focusing where a said person is from. Now, to my knowledge, from what I've heard, that Obama is Jewish. He's Jewish. He's from other places, etc., etc., etc. To where that when people with us here in America, when we focus so much on Crayola, then we had someone like Obama get into office. Their policies did not reflect them, quote unquote, being like us. So apparently the policies reflected the exact opposite in the way that he executed his 2 terms. I remember him saying that. I also remember,
that ain't got nothing to do with what the hell Obama said. Obama literally was speaking to misogyny. So I don't even know what the hell the other arguments are about. Like I said, I have listened to this clip, obviously. We've played this clip, obviously. I didn't hear what the hell other people heard. I don't give a damn about what Obama's policies were, whether he was Mitch Mac and what the hell he said versus what the hell he did. He was literally speaking to misogyny. And that's all that was about for me. And because niggas have a misogyny issue, I stand about everything he fucking said to niggas about their misogyny. Simple and point blank.
Well, I wish IG would have stayed because I don't want to misrepresent what he was saying. Alrighty.
So, niggas, kick rock, do what you're gonna do, May the best woman, the best male, the best melanin, or the best melanin deficient individual win the
I
presidency.
think we'll talk offline.
What was you about to say?
No, because I was gonna say, because I think the reason why he brought that up, because I wish he was still here, but he's at work. I think the reason why he brought that up in terms of Obama is because because I also remember the other content creators, they were saying that the issue is that they took issue with is that even when they looked at statistics, is that Black women, of course, are leading in terms of voting, and also voting Democrat. But however, Black men are literally right behind him. It's not like a big giant gap in between Black men also voting Democrat or voting in general. And so the idea, I think the issue that they took was that you do have a percentage of men, because I'm trying to represent it the best way I can. You do have a percentage of men that will not vote for Kamala Harris because she is a woman. But however, what they didn't like is that you do have that percentage of men that's doing it for those reasons, but you also have other Black men not voting for her for other reasons, but they're all being lumped in together.
Girl, who cares? Because of what Obama said, and none of these niggas are going to jail regardless of what informs they didn't vote. Who gives a fuck? Because you niggas don't even like Obama to begin with. So let's not act like all of a sudden now so much stake goes into what the fuck he says to begin with. Most of these niggas were mad that he even was pro-gay, that he was pro-LGBT. Now all of a sudden what he says has some type of a fucking credence as an ex-president who's not even a candidacy. How about just focus on the candidacy? And how about focus on making sure that you're not a misogynistic prick who's not voting for a woman because she's in fact a goddamn woman? Because this ain't about Obama. This is about the truth about what the fuck he said to the room he said it in and to the demographic he was directly speaking to.
Well, I'm also
Once
going to put out
again,
the
it's just all these people trying to find anything that they can to justify their disdain for Kamala Harris, including by making this about Barack Obama's presidency and administration, when this ain't about him either. Y'all voting for Trump because he's not a woman. People voting for Trump because he handing out checks. I don't get it, and I don't want to get it. I don't give a fuck to get it, because at the end of the day, everybody is about to stand on their square and vote exactly how the fuck they about to vote. Period. And no conversation is about to change that for the motherfuckers who are gonna be voting Trump, who gonna be voting blue, and who gonna be voting in the middle, and who gonna be not voting at all. We are literally, Cinderella is at her final hour. This is it. Now the question is, we all need to get ready, and all parties need to be preparing their reality and need to continue to gear up to work with whomever is about to occupy power, because it's not over. If Trump gets into power, what the fuck are niggas gonna do? What are we asking for? What are we petitioning? If Kamala gets it, what are we gonna do? This is an ongoing situation, and it's a forced collaboration no matter who gets into power. Yeah, everybody knows the truth. Trump only signed them. The Democrats fought to approve and give them out during the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Trump whole administration is smoking mirrors and a lie. It's off the heels of the Obama administration, who improved the economy. His administration inherited that economy, and then he took credit for making the economy great again. Shit he was combating that was approved of by other political channels. Trump is just a liar and just a weirdo. And the truth ain't in his ass. A shame and a literal convicted scandal and scam and schemer. You know, a lot of people. It was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Black men on one end try to act so bougie, like they're so above this and that. I know niggas who can't even wear a shoe that's less than $100. Can't drive a car that's less than this. Can't live less than that, and yet are okay with settling for a convicted felon running their ass for 4 years. That's like literally becoming educated, rising up in luxury and lifestyle, only to turn around and marry Pookie. So I don't want to hear about this great self-esteem that black men claim they got and all this fake bougie ass rhetoric they claim they got when they're willing to be led by a goddamn misogynistic criminal. Do you have anything that you want to say before we close out?
No, madam. I try my best to represent his claims, so hopefully I did okay at least.
Girl, this is not a book, child. This is a
Yeah,
live
come on, bro.
stream. And the sad part, I know a lot of black folks never once visited another country, let alone got a passport to be able to travel abroad. Well, they'll be able to travel to the goddamn grave or to the prison, because that's exactly where Trump plans on having our black asses at. Either in the grave or behind motherfucking bars. We out. Thumbs up, share. Leave y'all thoughts. Who are y'all voting for and why? And we'll see y'all later. Bye.